Rewind That Tape podcast. I'm Jay Probs,
And I'm Dr. Cash.
and today in our episode, we're going to start off with some soccer news. According to Fabrizio Romano, Lionel Messi is going to be deciding his future after deciding to leave PSG. His next club for the season, next week he'll be deciding. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a lot of Xavi comments saying he really wants Messi. What are your thoughts on where he's going to go?
Yeah, I mean, Xavi, obviously a former teammate of Messi. They're both good friends. And,
Yeah.
Barcelona are back. They just won La Liga. And
Champions
I
League.
think Messi can definitely help them in the Champions League. But, as it's the problems they faced in the past have been like they've had financial problems a lot in the past, and
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
preventing them from signing players. They've had
And that's why Messi had to leave.
They'd had to bring Spotify in to. They had to rename their stadium after Spotify, bring in all these new sponsorships to get money, and still, like, it might not be enough to bring in Messi. But I don't know if you heard about that plan with Inter Miami,
Hmm.
where
Yeah,
yeah.
the
So
loan plan.
I think that's pretty interesting. So essentially, Messi would sign with Inter Miami and go on loan for 12 to 18 months, so 2.5 seasons, 2.5 years. Go on loan to Barcelona, and after that loan, he would come back and play for Inter Miami, which I think it's a win-win for both teams.
Yeah, and for Messi personally, it keeps him playing competitive football before the Copa America, and then afterwards, when you'd assume he'd want to play in the MLS with more retirement, he can go back to Inter Miami. So it does seem like a pretty interesting plan. And I mean, this is the gr- the greatest football in the world. So it's all eyes are going to be on where he goes
Yeah,
next. Um, yeah, I think it's Barcelona, Inter Miami, or Saudi. I think those are the three front runners as of right now. But moving on to another big name leaving PSG, Sergio Ramos, the star center back leaving PSG. What are your thoughts on PSG kind of losing their star power at this point?
yeah. I feel like Ramos is it's this is a big loss for them because he had a big impact on that locker room. That PSG team was on paper they're one of the best teams in the world. Their
Yeah,
midfield though was just terrible, and it was all young players that couldn't really fit their timeline for winning the Champions League right now. They're more of reserves or players that big clubs would loan out. And I feel like what Ramos did, he was a veteran leader of that locker room. He'd won at the highest level multiple times. He kept that midfield. He kept the midfield's confidence. And while it's weird to say that from a center back's perspective, Ramos did a great job at doing that. And I think this is a huge loss for PSG because not only was he a big voice in the locker room, he actually played pretty well this year when you look at the
yeah.
film. I get it. He wasn't going up against the world's best talent every week, being in the Liga. So I feel like Ramos still has a lot to give. But I mean, again, like we talked about yesterday, once that Saudi money comes up, they're
Hmm.
gone, and you can't blame them.
Yeah, it. I don't know. It feels like for guys like Messi, for guys like Ramos, they came to PSG for that final Champions League, for that. Oh, I'm gonna play with this super team. I want to get a Champions League, and then I want to dip. They're
Right.
at the back end of their career. This is probably one of the last chances that they're gonna have to play competitive football, and um, I mean, I think that just encapsulates the entire PSG project, right? A bunch of high money names, Mbappe,
Yeah.
Neymar, all coming to try and win the Champions League, and then they just can't. I mean,
I feel
they
like
just can't.
this situation here completely relates to the Nets and how they had that big three with Harden, KD, and
Hmm.
Kyrie. It's kind of
Yeah,
similar situations, and how it's just not going to pan out now.
yeah, exactly. And then eventually, Mbappe's going to move on. Don't know when that's going to happen, but it's going to happen. Neymar, I mean, he's been being linked to what Manchester United,
Mm-hmm.
Newcastle,
Premier League teams,
um,
yeah,
yeah, the England. He's being linked to England. So I think, yeah, it's kind of blowing up in their faces. You'd
yeah,
want at least one Champions League out of this, right? Like you've been so dominant in Liga, but that isn't really saying anything.
yeah.
You want to win a Champions League. That's the ultimate goal, and they just
Yeah,
have
they were
not
they,
done
they didn't
that.
even get past the round of 16, which to me is that's
Exactly.
like the ultimate failure. They came that close against Madrid last year, and then this year, didn't have
It's
Mbappe for
yeah.
about the first hour of that leg one in Paris. He came on,
Hmm.
scored two goals, but both were ruled off sides, and that's just
Yeah.
that's kind of the story of how that big super team panned out. I mean, they're great talents. They played well with PSG, but they just couldn't come together when it mattered in the Champions League.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you possibly see Neymar and Mbappe back for one more season, but it's just an entirely different team without Messi, without Ramos. You just kind of these backbone veteran leaders are gone. And you're looking at the team and you're like, okay, you have Messi, you have Neymar, you have Hakimi, Nuno Mendes, Marquinhos, but
Marquinhos
there's
just
no
signed an
depth.
extension.
Yeah, that's true. But there's no depth in the team. There's no midfield. You're looking at it and you're like, this is a team headlined by stars, but no actual substance behind them.
Yeah,
And
and that's a great point because I feel like when you look at these teams that are in the Champions League final, that are in the semifinal, like you look at City, they have Phil Foden coming off the bench, and then
yeah, exactly.
you look at Inter, they have Edin Dzeko coming off the bench, they have Stefan De Vrij coming off the bench.
They
Um,
they
so
they play they play as a team too.
yeah,
They
Robin
each
Gosens
player
coming
knows
off the
their
bench.
role.
Exactly. And I think without depth, this PSG team can't go far. And not only that, their midfield is that thin. Like it's just not what it
Hmm.
used to be. They lost Di Maria last season.
Yeah,
Um, and it's just it's not going to work out without proper subs and a proper starting 11.
yeah. Because I feel like oil money can get you all the big names, but you need good leadership. You need good management in order to make that money work. And I mean, we've seen that with Newcastle's case, with Man City. Those the money actually working. Building a team that has the star talent, but then also the players to back it up, the depth to back it up. And that's just
Exactly.
what we just haven't seen that with PSG.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, but um, both all three of those players, Ramos, Messi, and either Neymar and Mbappe, three of those four are gone, and
Hmm.
now they're moving on to different stages in their career. Messi obviously kind of into that retirement zone, but you never know. He can still win Champions League or repeat La Liga with Barcelona. Neymar, I feel like I want to get this out quickly. I feel like him in the Premier League would be super super fun to watch. I don't think Newcastle's the right club for him because they have plenty of depth on the wing. But I think
Hmm.
if we see him at Chelsea potentially, I just
Chelsea, dang.
I mean I feel like one of these clubs that are I'm not I don't think
United.
but again
You think
United
Chelsea?
just brought in Anthony. They have
That's
those
true.
teams, they have their starting wings. Neymar's not coming off the bench, and I know Neymar wouldn't go to a club like Villa or Brighton. That just wouldn't make sense. But I think him under Unai Emery would be pretty fun.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's just gonna be interesting to see if he's leaving, where he'll end up, because a transfer fee would still need to be paid to PSG.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, they definitely have to pay a massive transfer fee for Neymar.
Hmm.
Um, but moving on to other transfers, other basketball transfers. Frank Vogel announcing that he is going to be the new head coach of the Phoenix Suns. He signed a 5-year, $31 million deal. What are your initial thoughts, Dr. Cash?
I don't know. Like to me, going on with this, like these veteran head coaches and um, just signing them. it just doesn't make much sense to me. Like Vogel's an incredible coach,
Hmm.
but I just feel like outside of that time in the bubble, like he's had a couple good runs in the playoffs with Indiana. But other than that, like that bubble run, like I don't know. I don't see what more he did than Monty Williams outside of that 2020 year. Just because it like I get it. He's great defensively, but I don't see what he brings to the table on top of what Monty Williams brought because Monty Williams can't control Booker and Durant going shooting like combining for 20 points into game 7. He
Yeah.
can't control that. This Suns team was already thin on the bench after trading for KD. I don't know what more Vogel's going to do, honestly. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you look at it, firing Monty Williams, the only way you can really get an upgrade is over him is if you get like one of those top coaching candidates like Ime Udoka, or I mean Doc Rivers possibly. I don't even know.
Yeah,
Because there weren't that many candidates that were better than Monty Williams. I mean, he's been a good coach. He led them to the what was it, the conference finals multiple years, and I think um, that's yeah. Maybe it's a change of senior, new coach, but I don't know. I don't think it's the right move because Monty, you haven't given him enough time to deal with this KD situation and kind of build the team as he wants.
yeah, I agree because when I look at it from this perspective, like the Mike Malone, that's a pretty he was a pretty new to head coaching when he took that job with Denver.
Hmm.
Um, Most recently,
And,
Joe Mazzulla. He got promoted
mhm,
from assistant coach. It's just a fresh mind, a fresh game plan, one that the league is not accustomed to seeing, which I think is
yeah.
important for these kinds of teams because, like Darvin Ham, he just took the Lakers to the conference finals in his first year as a head coach.
Hmm.
Yeah, people may have criticized his lineup changes, his all of that, but he made it to the conference finals at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Vogel did that, but after those conference finals runs, he had what, like maybe 1, 2 with Paul George in Indy. He went 54 and like 110 in his 2 years with Orlando. Then he made the finals, won it with LeBron. I don't know. I just don't like it, and I don't think he brings anything new to the table with Phoenix. That roster, it could get better, but I just don't know how much better it will get to supplement Vogel's play style.
Yeah, especially with two superstars in KD and Devin Booker holding majority of your cap space.
Right. I don't know.
Um,
Yeah, I just not a huge fan of this move.
yeah, I think we can both agree that the coaching carousel has been kind of crazy, but then also at the same time underwhelming because none of these moves that contending teams are making is really boosting a team's performance.
Exactly. Yeah, it just doesn't make much sense. But again, this all could change. All this perspective can change. If Phoenix can bring in the right pieces defensively to fit what Vogel stands for, I think we could be having a whole nother conversation. But I just don't know how they're going to bring in that quality bench.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's up to the front office. Yeah, but that ends our episode today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to follow us on all our social medias. If you're on it, we're on it as well. Make sure to go check out our website at rewindthattape.com, and come back to wherever you're listening to this podcast. We'll be here posting daily sports updates. And thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.